Hello and welcome. Well, we were discussing Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare in the previous session. As you all understood, Romeo and Juliet is a romantic tragedy in the last session. Madam also discussed about Romeo's character and how he feels for Juliet in the previous session. Previous act was Act 1, Scene 5, wherein Romeo met Juliet for the first time and instantly falls for her. In this session, we are in continuation with where we had left. We will discuss about Act 3, Scene 2, that is the second extract that is provided for us in this academic year. There are two extracts, as you all know. First extract was by Romeo, which happens in Act 1, Scene 5. And the second extract is what we are going to discuss in this session by Juliet, which happens in Act 3, Scene 2. Before moving further for the lines of Juliet, to discuss them further, we shall get to know the background of what exactly makes Juliet utter these lines. One must learn that the lines that Juliet utter are in utmost pain and in utmost anxiety. First and foremost, we must learn that Romeo is sent in exile for accidentally murdering Juliet's cousin Tybalt in a duel. Duel means a fight where Romeo accidentally murders Tybalt. And further, Juliet receives the news of Romeo's death by the nurse, but she refuses to believe it. Her nurse brings the news of Romeo's death, which in fact is untrue, as Tybalt is murdered rather than Romeo. Losing her Romeo brought more pain to her than losing her cousin Tybalt. We should understand by Act 3, Romeo and Juliet are not just lovers. They are in secret and sacred marriage tie with the help of Friar Lawrence. Juliet, in utmost pain, pleads to the god to give her her Romeo in the following scene that we are going to discuss. I hope you all have understood the background of Act 3, Scene 2. Between Act 1 and Act 3, Romeo has fallen in love with Juliet, went on to secretly marry her, and accidentally murders her own cousin Tybalt. Montagues and Capulets have had a long run of enmity between them. Romeo belongs to Montague, as explained earlier. Tybalt belonged to Capulets. Here, in the following lines, Juliet implicit feelings of Juliet are expressed. Come night, come Romeo, thou day in night, for thou wilt lie upon the wings of night. Let me make it very clear to you all. I shall first explain the figures of speech that are highlighted in red, and later I shall paraphrase, that is, I shall give meaning to the lines that are scripted here. The first figure of speech in this line is come night. Well, it is an apostrophe. What is apostrophe? Apostrophe is direct addressing to the inanimate object. If we address the inanimate object, that is non-human, directly, then it is called apostrophe. Juliet is calling the night to arrive. Thou day in night. Well, it's a metaphor where Romeo is compared to day. For thou wilt lie upon the wings of night. Well, this is another metaphorical line where wings of night means sky, and thou wilt lie upon means she is comparing Romeo to the moon. So the moon lies upon the sky, so the lines give the meaning that he is the moon who lies upon the sky. Further, she expresses her implicit feelings by telling that Romeo is whiter than new snow on a raven's back. Well, this whole line is a hyperbole. What is a hyperbole? Hyperbole is a figure of speech when a person indicates metaphorically and gives the quality and also surpasses it. Here, one must learn that new snow is the whitest object on the earth, but comparing Romeo to new snow and telling he happens to be the whiter than the whitest makes it a hyperbole. So here she compares Romeo to new snow on a raven's back. Raven is a black bird. So we should understand that new snow, how lustrous it can be, how contrasting it can be on a raven's back. The same way Romeo's lustrous charm is brought forth through her lines. In the following line, she asks the night to arrive. Come, gentle night, come, loving black-browed night. Here, black-browed is a figure of speech which is an alliteration. Also, it is a personification. Well, alliteration is nothing but two words having the same sound in the beginning, b and b, black browed, so it's an alliteration. Black browed night is a personification because giving human attributes to inanimate object, that is night, is what it makes it personification. So she here asks the night to arrive, and further begs the Almighty, that is her fate, to give her her Romeo in the following lines, as I shall read them. Give me my Romeo, and when I shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars. She says that her Romeo is what all she needs at the moment, and when she shall die, she begs the fate to take him and cut him out in little stars and adorn the sky with those twinkling stars. And she claims that once that is done, in the following line, she claims that, and he will make the face of heaven so fine. She says that once he is spread across the sky as little stars, he would make the face of heaven fine. Face of heaven here means sky. The starlit sky is the most pleasing view to human's eye. So she feels that after Romeo being cut into little stars and spread across the face of heaven, the sky is the most wondrous one till date. In the last two lines, she says that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun. Garish sun here means the bright sun. A very bright sun is what garish means here. She says that once he is cut into little stars and made the face of heaven very fine, the people on this earth would start falling in love with night. We must have always heard of the fact that night is considered to be a bad omen. Bad omen because most of the things are usually planned during the day. You must have heard of this fact as well. The smallest of small facts, like plucking a flower is also not allowed during night, because night is considered to be a bad omen. So Shakespeare desires here to make or to glorify the night over day. So he says, Romeo, through Juliet's line, he says, Romeo would make the people fall in love with night, and the garish sun, which is simply and unnecessarily being glorified, shall people shift their perspective towards the moon and night and the starlit sky. Well, this is the explanation of Juliet's lines. Further, let us analyze the two extracts that were provided, the analysis of the excerpts. Well, the theme we all by now have understood. The theme is love. The style is metaphorical. Both the characters praise and extend flattery towards each other. So metaphorical because a lot of figures of speech are being used in both the extracts. Juliet here is compared to jewel and dove, whereas Romeo is compared to snow and stars. Please note that there shall be questions asked on similes and metaphors precisely. Let us discuss few important questions that we shall come across pertaining to these two extracts, that is Romeo and Juliet. First, let us discuss one mark question. I have provided both questions as well as answers for a betterment of study. First question, who teaches the torches to burn bright? Juliet is the one. Please note that only one word, one phrase, or maximum of one line should be the answer. Juliet hangs upon the dash. I shall give 15 seconds for you to find the answer and pose it. Well, the answer is cheek of night. Juliet hangs upon the cheek of night. The third question is as follows. Who is compared to a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear by Romeo? Well, no brainers here. The answer is Juliet. The next question is, who are compared to crows by Romeo? In the first excerpt, you all have learned that the fellow dancers of Juliet are compared to crows, and Juliet was compared to dove. Fifth question is, what according to Romeo will happen when he touches Juliet's hand? Well, the answer is his rude hand will be blessed. The next question is, what does the word measure mean in the phrase measure done? Well, no points for guessing here. It's a simple question. Measure means dance. Next question is, where according to Juliet will Romeo lie upon? Well, the answer is wings of night. Who is compared to new snow? Romeo is compared to new snow. What according to Juliet will Romeo make so fine is the next question. Face of heaven is what Romeo would make so fine. And finally, according to Juliet, when would the world pay no worship to the garish sun? Garish sun? The answer is when the world would be in love with night. So these are a set of 1-mark questions and their answers. Let us learn how to answer a paragraph question. One of the textbook questions I have picked, and the question is, how, according to Juliet, would Romeo be immortalized to the world? Well, the paragraph answer should not be more than 80 to 100 words, and it should not be split into multiple paragraphs. Please note these two factors. The answer is as follows. Please note the red highlighted lines are nothing but the important points that are to be considered, and blue highlighted phrases are the linkers between the sentences that make the paragraph intact. I shall read the answer for you for the question, how according to Juliet would Romeo be immortalized to the world? The answer should have a proper introduction, a proper mid-content, and a final ending line. So the introduction line is as follows. Shakespeare's characters are timeless, and this element is a manifest in the characters of Romeo and Juliet. Here we are talking about the character Juliet, who immortalizes Romeo. So let us build the content on her character. Owing to her fascination towards Romeo's charm, Juliet compares him to new snow on a raven's back. In addition to that, she beseeches night to arrive so that she can meet her Romeo. Furthermore, Juliet pleads the Almighty for Romeo, and if she dies, she begs fate to cut him into little stars and form a constellation in his image so that Romeo would be immortalized. So, this is the main content of the answer. Subsequently, people would fall in love with the starlit heavens of night and pay no worship to the garish sun. So, this is a major chunk of the answer, wherein three very important points are to be considered. And the concluding line is, in this way, Juliet desires to make her love eternal through her implicit feelings. So, this is a paragraph answer. If at all these very important notes, that is 3 to 4 very important points, a very good set of linkers, introduction, content and conclusion order, single unit, 80 to 100 words are considered, then surely 4 marks will surely be fetched. Thank you and wish you all the best for your study.